The good old days.
Yeah.
And you walked on the committee. And he said, you know what, all the ladies black and I said, let's get them together.
1910, and it was caused by a roof fall dislodging gas. The gas ignited. The gas then wicked up the coal dust, and the coal dust ignited as well. So there were vast amounts of carbon monoxide produced, and the bulk of the men who died because of the carbon monoxide poisoning, really. Around about 40 to 50 died from the direct effect of the blast itself. So a number of bodies, 16 bodies, were unidentifiable, and they ended up in a mass grave at West Orton, which is now the site of the memorial. So initially, once word had gone round there'd been an explosion here, people started making their way to the pit, across the fields from Atherton, before the days of Hagfold Estate. And the actual path that you've walked along here was there at the time. So the people came along the railway line and stood here waiting for news. And somebody produced a postcard. Once the word had gone round that a number of men had died, so straight away a local photographer produced a postcard to raise money. And it showed the men, well, the families on the surface there. Can you just see when smoke coming up the other shaft in the distance? But that postcard was produced to raise money straight away. Once word went round that people had died, funds started to come into the colliery offices at Chequer Bent to raise money. And teams of rescue men started arriving from other collieries. The training of rescue men was a fairly recent venture. The first rescue station in the country serving a wide number of collieries was down How Bridge at Lovers Lane. Some of you will know where Lovers Lane is, How Bridge. The building's still there today where they do MOTs. So that's what they call the first central rescue station in the country at How Bridge. Quite a first, really. So one of the first teams to arrive on site and go down the shaft was from Westleigh, and the second team was from Atherton. And I know from research in the book that eventually there were too many rescue men arriving, and some of them had to be turned back. Now, for years I'd heard a reminiscence of a man who was interviewed in the 1960s who survived the explosion. He was in a section of the working the Arley seam where the explosion fizzled out because of the nature of the coal and the type of dust associated with it. So he was one of the lucky survivors, and he was interviewed in the 1960s by Ken Howarth at the Northwest Film Archive, Clitheroe.